Cool.
And so I met John, and we started. Billy gave me several tunes to work on, and to one of them was Bittersweet and Rise Up. Those are the two songs that I co-wrote on the Union of Sinners and Saints album. But just being on tour with those guys and recording that first album has been such an experience. And I didn't realize at the time until I had started playing in the band, and we had played a couple of shows and different things, that John Schlitt was in Head East, and that he did that song Never Been Any Reason. And all of a sudden it just took it to another level for me, because that's the type of riff rock that I'm talking about, that I grew up on, that 70s style, Bad Company, Foreigner, anything with riff rock like that, and Head East. And so when I found that out, we had a really, really cool conversation one time in the studio, and I said, well, you know what? We should definitely play that song at some point. And he's like, no, it can't be done, man. We've never played it acoustic. And I said, well, let's think about it. So we started playing some more shows and came back into the studio, and I said, here, let's try it out. And there's a recording on the Union of Sinners and Saints Facebook page that shows us playing that song in 3-part harmony, and it was just a moment in time for me to realize that I'm sitting here playing with two legends who have been able to use their gifts and talents to just spread the gospel all over the world in a way that broke down walls. It was they were the outlaws at the time. And to see how many people and to hear the stories of how many people have come to know Jesus through their music, and to be able to play music with them, it's kind of a childhood dream. It's very interesting, because I have a similar story to John, and I always tell him he reminds me of my dad so much. His mannerisms, right down to having a Diet Coke on stage, everything. So we've really had a lot of fun, and we're recording more songs. As a matter of fact, before the COVID hit, the coronavirus, I had plans to go up to Nashville to finish recording guitars on a couple of new Union songs. So we have stuff in the works, and I'm looking forward to be able to share a new album here in the near future, hopefully.
Jason, I want to take you in a 2-part question, and I want you to think about this both ways. How does Christian faith, your Christian faith, the Christian faith, whether it's personal or the faith in general, how does that affect your music? But then also want to take it the other way. How does music help people in their faith? So kind of a double-headed question there. So going both directions.
Well, I think that music, like I was talking about before, is the universal language. It's you could take 1,000, 1,000,000 people and line them up and play music for them, and they could all speak different languages, and they're going to be affected by it. It's going to just enter in to their mind, body, and soul, and change the way they feel. And I believe that God created music for that purpose. And I know that, one of the worship leaders who was cast out, the enemy, was a worship leader. And what's amazing to me is that the worship leaders were on the front line, and it talks about that in the Bible, how the worship leaders led the battle. And so music is super, super powerful. And I went down a road after I'd started playing guitar, at 16. I developed and I can tell you a little bit about my story, but developed, I guess, what you call the rock and roll attitude, drinking, doing everything that comes with rock and roll. And I didn't think anything of it. I kind of got away from church after around 16 years old. I'd started drinking and doing different things in my life. And I just thought that that's what you did. I looked at all of these other people playing music, and I thought, wow, this is, it's just what you do. And so I partied a lot, and I went down that whole road, and music took me to another place too as well. And I think that you can use it for all types of different ways. It can definitely be used for good as well as bad. And I think that, to me, one of the things that has really affected me in my music direction these days is how how I've become so aware of how powerful it is. And it's like once I became a new creation through Christ, and once I accepted Christ into my heart and my soul and my mind, and it just seemed like that playing music for anything other than God was just making a bunch of noise. My wife told me that, she said, if you're making music anything, for anything other than God, you're just really using that talent and gift for other things instead of to glorify Him and to help others. And so what has developed in my life today is that I want to be able to make music and use the tools that God's given me, the gift that God's given me, the powerful musical ability to be able to tell people about the best news in the world, the redemption, the grace, the love that God gave us all, even though we were still sinners, died on the cross for our sins and gave us a new life. And I want to tell people, no matter how far gone or how far down you are, that you actually can be made into a new creation by the love and grace of what Jesus has done on the cross. And so today I use music for that. There was a time in my life where, 2010, where I played in a pretty big, heavy rock group. It was some guys that played with Ozzy Osbourne, Zakk Wylde's band, Black Label Society, the drummer and the guitar player, and a guy from Queensryche, and two guys from Double Drive, heavy rock, and it's actually on iTunes right now. And they respected me for my faith. I had been sober for a while. I guess it was about, at this point, 5 years. My life had changed. I accepted Christ in my life, and they respected that in my life. But they had called me up and said, hey, we need another singer. Would you like to try out? And so I tried out with these guys and ended up becoming the singer. But it just didn't feel like I was at home. And I feel like that my music today, I feel at home because I feel I'm in my purpose. I feel like that I have been able to use what God has given me to help others and to glorify Him. And when we find that in life, I believe that's where home is. That's where our purpose is. And if you don't know your purpose, I would say go out there and serve your way into your purpose. Go and find a place to serve using the gift that God's given you. It may not be music. It may be something else. My wife and I have a homeless ministry that we do. And just go and serve without anything in any repay. And just what'll happen is you'll find what makes you come alive. And when you come alive, once you look around and see what you're doing, see what you're giving, what you're serving, where you're serving at, and once you find that position of what makes you come alive, then do that with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind to love God and to love others, and you'll have a joyful life. That's where your purpose is. That's where home is, and that's what I finally found in music. So that's why I play Christian music today. I
gotta say, there are so many things in what you just said, Jason, okay, so Wild Man can be sitting there thinking and fantasizing about that Les Paul. I'm sitting there thinking about what you just said about serving your way in and really just finding your calling, but just getting in there and doing something, first of all. And then, that statement about, finding that thing that really just makes you come alive, and then going and doing that. Honestly, I think that is such a message for so many people. And because, again, I think, like you were saying with the rock star lifestyle, well, this is what it's supposed to be, right? I see these guys doing this thing, and I'm supposed to be like that. I think sometimes people think that with their Christian walk as well. Like, well, I see those other people over there doing that. Well, I guess I'm supposed to do that too. Well, whatever that is, may be right for you, but it may not be. And I'm not talking about in terms of sinful behavior or anything like that, but maybe somebody is called over here to a homeless ministry, like you're talking about with you and your wife. If somebody else is called to a different area of ministry, and you got to say, what is God really lighting up your heart with, and making you come alive? And again, try different things, serve your way into it. I really, really like that. I think that's a neat way to approach that.
I heard that from I can't remember the pastor's name, but it really stuck with me, and I believe that like you said, all of us have different gifts that God's given us, and we may not have the same ones, but that's why we have to work together. That's how come it's love God and love others. I mean, it's so important to have those relationships with others, because with Him in the middle of it, when we have a relationship with somebody else, friendship, brotherhood, sisterhood, anything like that, they have a different gift and I have a different gift. We use it together. It's something greater. And especially with Him at the helm, Him at the wheel, it's our purpose. And that's where we really, really come alive. As a matter of fact, the song off my last record, I Fall In, is the very first song, intro song, is called Come Alive. And it's got a heavy guitar riff, and it's just about, it was about coming alive in our purpose, which is from Him.
So let's say there's somebody listening to our podcast and is somebody who's wanting to get into the music scene. God has gifted them that way, whether it's instrumentally or vocally, and they're going, you know what, I kind of want to do what Jason's doing. What would you say, because you've got lots of experience, up, down, sideways, good, bad, ugly. What would you say to somebody who's trying to get into the music biz today? So here it is, 2020. Everything is digital. It's different ways of recording. Touring looks different, obviously, with where we are right now. But just in general, I think touring looks different. Marketing looks very different from where it was certainly back in the 70s, 80s, and so forth. So what kind of advice would you give to somebody who says, hey, I feel that gift, I've got that passion, well, how do I do it?
I think it's still all about relationships. I think what I mean by that is the fan and the listener, as well as the musician or the artist. There's a connection there, and it's meant to be there. And I think that it's a powerful circle that is created when you create music, and then when you find out that somebody likes the music, and then they start following you and they want more of what you're doing. And really, when you make it about God, then more so it becomes even more fluent as to it's not selfish. There can be a road that you can go down to where it's a selfish kind of thing, but you'd also have to treat it kind of like a business to succeed. What I mean by that is realistically, the cream is going to rise to the top. And if you do it with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind, you put it in the right order, God first, family, and put your priorities right, and be able to put time into starting out a career with music, it can be done from the ground floor up by building those relationships. So I think with the new age of social media, and with the new age of not touring so much, and the new age of being, having to connect through the technologies that we have today, I would say to anybody who wants to start out, find your instrument, find your craft, start writing songs. Sometimes it's easier to write songs with other people because collaboration. It's funny because I used to write songs a lot by myself. But when I started collaborating, I realized, wow, this is awesome because it's designed that way. We're supposed to be with each other. It's just a spiritual thing that I feel. But what you need to do, if I was starting out today, is I would say, or if I had a new band that I was helping out, which I do help out on some bands here and there. And as a matter of fact, a message came from Canada the other day, and I prayed with a guy who had a heart attack last year. I played a festival called No Greater Love with the Unionists, Sinners, and Saints, and I was able to play on stage solo as well. But he had messaged me, and he said, remember when you prayed for me and everything, you told me to use my talent for God and for others, and to take, just little steps at a time. And he messaged me and sent me a link to his website, and he has a song that he has recorded with him and his wife, and they have a video for it, and they're actually doing it. And he was thanking me, but really all I was telling him is just from my heart, from what God has told me, is just to continue doing what you're doing. So do that. Do it with all your heart, do it with all your soul, do it with all your mind, and it doesn't have to be the best. A lot of writers, a lot of musicians, I heard a writer say one time that he gets his book, a writer of a book, he gets it to about 75%. So if you're writing a song, get it to about 75%. And then from there, either talk to somebody like a producer or either talk to someone, an engineer, about possibly recording that song. What he does is he'll send it to an editor at that point, so it's never, perfected until he works with somebody else. And a lot of times I'll work with producers